Love by the Sea. Emily sat by her window. She looked at the sea. The waves were soft and calm. Emily lived in a small house near the beach. She liked the smell of salt in the air and the sound of the ocean. But her heart felt quiet and lonely. Emily was 35 years old, and her life was peaceful. Still, something was missing. Emily worked as an interior designer. She made other people's homes beautiful. But her own home felt empty, she told herself.
I'm happy alone.
Yet sometimes, at night, she felt the silence. She missed something, but she did not know what it was. One rainy afternoon, a man came to her town. His name was Michael. He looked about 40 years old. Michael was quiet, with a calm but serious look. He, too, seemed alone. Emily saw him on the beach. He walked along the shore, just like she did. Michael and Emily did not speak, but Emily felt something new in her heart. She watched him walk along the sand, his eyes on the waves. His face was kind, but there was sadness there, too. He looked as if he carried a story, a quiet story, like hers. One morning, Michael looked at Emily and gave her a small smile.
The sea is peaceful, isn't it?
He said.
Yes.
Emily replied. She smiled back. They said no more, but Emily felt a warm feeling grow inside her. She wondered about him. She wanted to know his story. But for now, they just stood together, listening to the waves. The days went by. Each morning, Emily saw Michael on the beach. They did not speak often, but their eyes met, and each time he gave her a small, quiet smile. Emily felt comfort in his presence. She noticed how he watched the waves, his face thoughtful, as if he was lost in deep memories. One morning, Emily felt brave. She walked over to him, her footsteps soft on the sand.
Do you like the sea?
She asked. Michael looked at her.
Yes.
He said.
It helps me think. It helps me feel calm.
Emily nodded.
I feel the same way.
They stood in silence, watching the waves. For Emily, silence was not empty this time. It felt warm. It felt like she had a friend by her side, even though they had spoken only a few words. Over time, they started to meet each morning on the beach. Sometimes they walked together along the shore, listening to the sounds of the sea. They shared simple words about the waves, the sky, the way the sun looked in the morning. One day, as they walked together, Emily asked,
Why did you come here, Michael?
Michael looked down. His face grew serious.
I needed a quiet place.
He said slowly.
My life, it was hard. I lost something important.
Emily felt a small ache in her chest.
I understand.
She said softly. Michael looked at her.
Do you?
He asked. Emily nodded. She did not say more. She did not need to. She felt that he understood her silence, just as she understood his. As the days passed, their walks became longer. Sometimes they would sit on a rock and watch the waves. Sometimes They would speak of their lives. Emily told Michael about her work, about the homes she designed. Michael listened carefully. His eyes were gentle, and he seemed to enjoy her words.
I like to make things beautiful.
Emily said one day.
It makes me feel happy to create something that people love.
Michael nodded.
You bring light into their homes.
He said.
That is special.
Emily felt her cheeks warm. No one had told her that before. As the weeks went on, Emily found herself thinking about Michael even when he wasn't there. She thought of his kind smile and the way he watched the sea. She remembered his words, and they made her feel happy. She wondered if Michael felt the same. One night, as Emily lay in bed, she felt a question rise in her heart.
Is this love?
She wondered. She wasn't sure. It was not loud or fast, like a storm. It was gentle, like the waves. It was quiet, but deep. Emily closed her eyes and let the thought fill her heart. Maybe this was love, a love that grew slowly, like a flower in the sun. The next morning, Emily walked down to the beach, her heart light and full of quiet joy. Michael was already there, standing near the water, his hands in his pockets. The sky was a soft gray, with clouds rolling in like a gentle blanket. When he saw her, Michael smiled.
Good morning, Emily.
Good morning.
She replied, feeling warmth spread through her at the sound of his voice. They walked side by side, their feet making soft prints in the wet sand. For a while, they didn't speak. But today, the silence felt different, full, almost like a promise. After a while, Michael spoke.
I never thought I would feel at home here.
He said, his voice low.
But I do now.
Emily looked at him, her eyes bright with surprise.
I feel the same.
She said softly.
I've lived here a long time, but lately it feels new.
Michael stopped walking and turned to face her.
Emily,
He began, his voice steady.
I came here because I needed to heal. My life before, it was hard. I lost someone I cared about.
Emily's heart ached as she listened. She knew how it felt to lose, to feel the weight of empty spaces. She reached out and placed her hand on his arm, a gentle gesture of comfort. Michael's eyes softened as he looked at her.
Thank you.
He said.
You make it easier.
They stood there, close and quiet, the waves crashing softly in the background. For the first time in years, Emily felt her heart open. It was a slow feeling, warm and gentle, like the rising sun. Days turned into weeks, and Michael and Emily became part of each other's lives. They shared morning walks, simple meals, and quiet moments by the shore. The beach became their place, a small world of peace where they could both be themselves. One evening, as they sat on a rock watching the sunset, Michael took a deep breath.
Emily, I didn't think I could love again.
He said,
But, being with you, I feel something new, something good.
Emily felt her heart leap, her face warm with joy. She looked at him, her eyes filled with quiet happiness.
I feel it too, Michael.
She replied.
I think this is love.
They sat there, side by side, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The waves whispered around them, gentle and steady, like the rhythm of their hearts. For Emily, it was the beginning of something beautiful, something simple, yet deep. In Michael, she had found a love that was quiet but strong, like the ocean. And as the stars began to appear in the sky, she knew she was no longer alone. As the days passed, Emily and Michael's lives wove together like threads in a gentle fabric. They shared simple pleasures, a morning coffee, the sound of waves, the comfort of knowing someone would be there to listen. As the days passed, Emily and Michael's lives wove together like threads in a gentle fabric. They shared simple pleasures, a morning coffee, the sound of waves, the comfort of knowing someone would be there to listen. One quiet afternoon, Emily was in her small studio, working on a new design. She was focused, arranging colors and shapes, but her thoughts kept drifting to Michael. She remembered his smile, his calm voice, and how he listened with such care. Her heart felt light, as if it had opened like a flower reaching for the sun. That evening, she met him by the shore again. They didn't need many words. Their walks had become their own silent language. When the sun was low in the sky, Michael turned to her.
Emily,
He said softly.
do you ever think about the future?
Emily's heart skipped a beat. She looked at him, her gaze steady yet warm.
Yes,
She answered, her voice just above a whisper.
and I think I see you in it.
Michael's face softened, and for a moment, they stood in the quiet, their feelings filling the space between them. Slowly, he took her hand. His touch was gentle, steady.
I feel the same.
He said.
I didn't expect this, but with you, it feels right.
Emily smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. She realized that love could be calm, like the waves. It didn't need to rush or shout. It could grow slowly, gently, until it filled every part of her life. In the days that followed, Emily felt a change within her. Her days felt brighter, her heart lighter. She found herself laughing more, dreaming more, and hoping more. The quiet spaces in her life that once felt empty were now filled with warmth and peace. One evening, Michael invited her to dinner. He prepared a simple meal, and they sat by candlelight in his small cottage. As they ate, they spoke about dreams, about things they hadn't shared with anyone else. Michael looked at her across the table, his eyes warm and steady.
Emily, I'm here to find peace. I didn't expect to find love, but you've shown me both.
Emily felt her heart swell with joy.
I think we both needed this.
She replied.
I think we found each other just when we needed it most.
They sat in silence, letting the moment settle around them like a gentle embrace. For Emily, love was no longer a distant dream or a story from her past. It was real, soft, and steady, something she could hold, something that felt like home. And as she looked into Michael's eyes, she knew that her heart was no longer alone. She had found a love that was quiet yet powerful, gentle yet strong. It was a love as timeless as the ocean, as steady as the waves, a love she could trust. In the weeks that followed, Emily and Michael spent more and more time together. They had found a quiet rhythm, a gentle routine that felt natural, almost as if it had always been there. Emily found herself waking each day with a sense of peace, something she hadn't felt in years. One morning, Michael invited her on a drive. They left the small town and headed into the hills, where the air was fresh and the world felt open. They stopped by a field filled with wildflowers, the colors bright under the morning sun. Michael took her hand, leading her through the flowers, his touch warm and steady.
This place.
Michael said, looking around.
It reminds me of why I came here. I needed to remember beauty, to feel peace.
Emily looked at him, her heart full.
And did you find it?
She asked softly. Michael met her eyes and nodded.
Yes, and I found more than I ever expected.
They sat together on a patch of grass, surrounded by flowers and sunlight. Michael shared stories from his life, tales he hadn't told anyone in years. Emily listened, feeling closer to him with every word. His past held sadness and loss, but there was a strength in him, a strength she admired deeply.
You've been through so much,
She said gently, her hand on his.
but here you are, and you're still so kind, so open.
Michael smiled, a quiet, grateful smile.
I think you've helped me remember who I am, Emily. You've brought light back into my life.
They sat in silence, both of them letting the moment settle. Emily felt her heart opening, blooming slowly like a gentle flower. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future, one where she wasn't alone. That evening, back in town, they walked along the beach as the sky turned pink and gold. Emily felt the cool sand beneath her feet, felt the ocean breeze in her hair. She took a deep breath, feeling a joy that was quiet yet strong.
Michael,
She said softly.
I think I'm falling in love with you.
Michael stopped, turning to her, his eyes filled with warmth. He took her hands, holding them gently.
Emily, I think I fell in love with you the first time I saw you by the shore. You looked so peaceful, yet so full of life. I felt drawn to you.
Emily's heart raced, but it was a soft, comforting feeling, like waves moving gently over the sand. They stood together, watching the ocean, their hearts beating as one. For the first time in years, Emily felt truly at home. Emily's heart raced, but it was a soft, comforting feeling, like waves moving gently over the sand. They stood together, watching the ocean, their hearts beating as one. For the first time in years, Emily felt truly at home. From that moment, their love grew, steady and unwavering, like the tides. They didn't need grand gestures or declarations. They found joy in small things, a morning walk, a quiet dinner, the simple comfort of being together. And as the days turned into months, Emily knew, deep in her heart, that she had found something rare and beautiful. She had found love, a love as deep as the ocean, as timeless as the waves. It was a love she could trust, a love that felt like coming home.